All right, let's solve this problem about finding a confidence interval where the situation is that the population standard deviation is known, okay? If we know the population standard deviation, then we proceed like this. Uh, the confidence interval is x bar, where that's the sample mean, minus this number e on the low end, and then x bar plus e on the high end. And e is the margin of error. The way we find the margin of error in this situation, where the population standard deviation is known, is we look on a normal distribution with the mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1.35, which is the population standard deviation, over the square root of the sample size. And the sample size was 25, okay, according to the problem. And the population standard deviation was 1.35. So that's what this number is. Now that works out to be 0.27. Okay, now, so there's two numbers we're going to have to use StatCrunch to find. One is the sample mean, okay, and the other is this margin of error. But let's one at a time. Let's find the sample mean first. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to open this data in StatCrunch. And here it is in this column. And I want to go to calculators, no, summary stats, columns. And VAR1 is where my data is. And then I want the mean, okay? So let's see. The mean is 4.408. Okay, so that's one of the numbers I needed. So let me write that down. So X bar, 4.408. Okay, so next let's find this number from this normal distribution, the margin of error. So the way I find that is I set it up to where it blocks in 95% of the area on a normal distribution with mean 0, standard deviation 0.27. So let's do that in StatCrunch. So I do that by, let's see, calculators, normal, mean 0, standard deviation 0.27, okay, and I need to set it to between, because like I said, I wanted the numbers I need come from blocking off 95% of the area under that curve. So I set it to between, and this is going to be 0.95, and there we go. So my number is 0.5292. Okay, that's the margin of error. Okay, 0.5292. So let's see. Write that down. All right, now with those two, I can make my confidence interval. So on the low end, it's X bar, the sample mean, minus the margin of error. So let's see, 4.408 minus 0.5292. So that's 3.8788. Okay, so that's on the low end. And then 4.408 plus, this time, the margin of error, 0.5292. And that's 4.9372. Okay, so that's my 95% confidence interval. So, well, let's see. Let's put that in. I'm not sure about the rounding. So 2 decimal places. Okay, so on the low end, 3.878 to 2 decimal places is 3.88. So let's say 3.88. Okay. And then on the high end, 4.937 to 2 decimal places is 4.94. So 4.94. And then we'll have a look, and so that's right. Okay. So I think the key with this one is doing the calculations in StatCrunch. You could find the sample mean with a handheld calculator, but we got StatCrunch right there. It'll do it for you. And definitely you have to use StatCrunch to find this margin of error number from the normal distribution. Right? But StatCrunch does make it easy to do if you know what formulas you're supposed to use. And this time, I knew I was supposed to use formulas this way because the population standard deviation was known. If the population standard deviation wasn't known, it would be a different story, different kind of problem, different formulas and technique.